All right. Well, today's Insta Live is about the 7th juz. And so we're talking here about the 7th. And this is a very interesting part of the Quran, I think. And subhanAllah, I'm so happy to hear those of you who are saying that it's been easier for you because you're home. You have a different schedule. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Inna ma'al usri yusra. Inna ma'al usri yusra. This section, of course, again, just a disclaimer, this is not meant to be tafsir. This is reflections on the Quran. And tafsir is a formal science where you study the asbab al-nuzul, the grammar, the grammatical, the contextual stuff. This is just reflection. And if you want to study tafsir, you need to take a class at Rabata, and I highly recommend that. Highly recommend that. But for our Ramadan reflection, we are sharing here our experience with the 7th juz and how we are feeling those pages. So for me, this section, I really see a very strong calling to everyone, but especially to Muslims, to be very clear and strong. And there's a lot of clarity in this section. We're starting in Surah Al-Ma'idah, and the surah begins on verse 87, or not the surah, sorry, the section. We begin with يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تحرموا طيبات ما أحل الله لكم ولا تعتدوا إن الله لا يحب المعتدين. Very interesting verse that calls on us to not make haram what is halal. And subhanAllah, I talk about this with the people a lot because there's a difference between the deciding for yourself. For example, a person who would say to herself, oh, I want to be a vegetarian. Okay, that's fine. You can decide for yourself that you want to be a vegetarian. But what's not fine is for you to say to yourself, oh, we all have to be vegetarians. All Muslims have to be vegetarians. Okay, that is when you make haram what is halal, because you make it for other people. But the other thing that happens here, I'm just looking for it in English so that I can not have to translate. There we go. But it's very different, but sorry, I lost my train of thought. I should have been ready to go here. There we are. Oh, you have believed. Do not prohibit the good things which Allah has made lawful to you, and do not transgress. So it's really interesting. لا تحرموا طيبات. So don't make haram what is of good. Don't prohibit good things. Don't stop people from doing good things. ما أحل الله لكم, that Allah has made acceptable for you. ولا تعتدوا. And don't transgress. Now here, yesterday we were sort of following through on the feeling or the idea of we want to know who is it that Allah doesn't love. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. Allah doesn't love those who transgress. And transgression is a word in English. We don't really know it. We don't really use it very much. And really the meaning of ta'tadu and mu'tadeen and transgression and those who transgress is someone who you know what you're doing, you're walking on a path, and you purposely create something else. You purposely do something else. And you do it in a way that is with evil intent as well, or selfish intent. Maybe we need to use words like that. And especially when we're thinking about leadership, I've been thinking a lot about leadership today. And you see this in leadership, right? I mean, this is the kind of thing we see in leadership, where we might not see this in, or it doesn't affect others when it's for yourself. This is really dangerous when it's in leadership. And so when we have leaders and we have these issues of spiritual abuse and things in our community, I mean, we're human beings. This is normal for us to have problems in community, in leadership, but we have to be really careful. As those who are in leadership have to be careful, and those who are following leaders have to be careful. So those who are in leadership have to be careful that we lead in accordance with the sunnah of the Prophet, in accordance with the Quran. And I mean that in a full way, in the full beautiful way of that closeness and that goodness. Okay? And then we also have to be very careful, excuse me, on the other side, when we're following leadership, that we're paying attention, because the role of a leader is still the role of a human being in leadership. And so if, subhanAllah, yani the religious leadership is very sensitive, because it's a scary place to be, really. And it's a place that I think if anyone is thinking, they don't put themselves in that space, because it's so precarious. It's not about leading someone in a job to make sure that we make the money for the company, or we teach the kids well. Both important things. This is about a person's afterlife. And if you really know the reality of the afterlife, you understand how scary that is. And so this verse is a verse that is really drawing that line between those who are working to الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, who are working to help others, and those who are working to help themselves only. SubhanAllah. And oops, where's my other? Yep, that's it. So anyway, these verses are really, they're very strong. And if you go to verse 90, we have also some more clarity. If you remember, we started out, I really think there's a lot of clarity in these words in this section. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, again. Innama al-khamru wal-maysiru wal-ansabu wal-azlam rijsum min amal al-shaytan fajtanibuh la'allakum tuflihun. This is like talking about modern life. O you who believe, indeed, alcohol and gambling, intoxicants and gambling, sacrificing on stone altars, so this sacrificing to like any sort of worship of idols, and games of chance and like divining arrows, so chance, are from min amal al-shaytan. These are from the work of shaytan. So this is Ramadan, and I know that perhaps some of you want to talk about spiritual things, and you're like, why is she talking about these things? I want to talk about more elevated things. But the truth is, we have to know the work of shaitan if we're going to be able to know the work of the angels and the work of the Muslims and the work of the believers. And if you look at society today, you really see that shaitan has won in so many ways in much of global society. And when I say shaitan has won, because everywhere you look, there's alcohol. In some states in the United States, even the pancake restaurants have alcohol. Like, a person can't go and get pancakes without having a person next to them drinking beer. And what that really, like, ya Allah, and what is that reason for those intoxicants? It's because people, they're sad, they're lonely, they need escape. They're afraid. They don't have the place of prayer to go to. And gambling is the same. Why do people gamble? Why would somebody take their money to a place and put it on a game? Why would they do that? Either they're really desperate, or they want this escape, that adrenaline rush of, am I going to win the money? Am I going to win big today? Am I going to win big today? In Minnesota, the the native peoples here, they discovered that the reservations were, of course, I mean, I'm saying this in a funny way, but they realized that the reservations were outside of the Minnesota law, so they could have casinos. And so they do. And there's a part of me, if I'm honest with you, that is, I'm sort of like, it's, there's a part of me that is very, maybe I shouldn't say this on Insta Live, but that is like happy for them that they found a way to get their money back, you know, to get their land back. And in fact, from the money that they earned from the casino, they purchased a very important hotel here in Minnesota. Anyway, I'm just happy for them. My heart is very much in pain about the history of Native peoples in America. But at the same time, I recognize that Shaitan found a place to bring gambling to people on an everyday basis. People who used to have to travel to Las Vegas or elsewhere in order to gamble now can just go up north and spend a weekend gambling. And I mean, of course, there are people that are gambling every single day now online in these fantasy football games and all these other things. And really, it's become, again, part of culture to such a degree that you have to say, and a'udhu billah, but we have to say that Shaitan's work has won. This is amal al-shaitan. Allah is very clear with us. Min amal al-shaitan fajtanibuh. So avoid it. Avoid it. And then when we're talking about these other things, sacrificing on altars and divining of arrows, these are all things that are part of Wiccan culture and this sort of false spirituality culture. And that's from a place where people are really looking for spirituality. And again, like my heart goes out to the human race. People need God. The human being needs God. And without God, they seek something else. And Shaitan is there to tempt them, to bring them, to whisper to them, oh, run away from those feelings into alcohol, run away into gambling, run away into games of chance and divining arrows and all this kind of thing. And but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, if we want to be really clear and walking on this path, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. So we need to really leave it aside. Leave it aside. Like just push all of that aside out of our lives and have lives that don't include these things. Really carefully not to include them. And even, at work or whatever, really do our best to avoid all of these things, because we're really giving the win to Shaitan when we're allowing Shaitan. The lottery. I mean, the lottery, people ask me all the time, can I buy a lottery ticket? And it's because they're like, it's $1, but they don't understand. I mean, this is again, they're seeking, they don't understand really that if you could just make dua, Allah will send you what you need. Allah will send you your quote unquote lottery winnings with your dua, but not with your lottery ticket. That's mal haram then. And yes, Tani, like all those holes people are trying to fill up, and it's Allah. Allah is where we need to be. And subhanAllah, right after that verse is the answer to that. وَأَتِيعُ اللَّهِ وَأَتِيعُ الرَّسُولِ وَاحْذَرُوا فَإِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا عَلَى رَسُولِنَا بَلَاغٌ مُبِينٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, obey God and obey His Prophet. And I talked about obedience the other day in this class. I think a good word in English for obedience, not the literal translation, but a good word for us to help us to understand what obedience really is here, is loyalty. So if we can be loyal to Allah and loyal to the Prophet ﷺ, how will we live our lives? How will we live our lives if we are loyal to the Prophet ﷺ? We'll live our lives, I think, really wanting to do what he asks us to do, really wanting to live and walk in his footsteps. If we are loyal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will take this Quran to heart. We will pray, we will ask Allah, we will escape to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it says, وَاحْذَرُوا, be warned. فَإِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا عَلَى رَسُولِنَا بَلَاغٌ مُبِينٌ. So if we turn away, then it's the Prophet ﷺ is not to blame. on him was just telling us, just giving us the message. And another part of modern society is blame. We love to blame. We love it. We're like, it's your fault that I'm fat. It's your fault that I'm tired. It's your fault that my dishes are not done. It's your fault that I don't have a good job. It's your fault that I didn't finish school. It's your fault. We're just a blame culture. It's really weird to me because I was raised in a culture that is really anti-blame. And so I find it very strange, all this ability to throw the blame on everybody else. But here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, the Prophet ﷺ is bari, he is innocent of our distance. He's innocent of our mistakes. If we're not going to be loyal, if we're not going to follow and walk on the right path, the Prophet ﷺ is innocent of us. We can't blame him. We can't say he didn't do right by us. We can't blame. The message is here. And subhanAllah, we are so blessed because truly the message is here, right here in this book that we're holding. And the next verse, and those of you who've been here before know that I'm not going to do this for the whole, just that we'll be here until tomorrow. This is just a 30-minute thing. But the next verse is really important because it demonstrates to us what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to grow. ليس على الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات جناح فيما تعموا. Just a minute, here it is. There is not upon those who believe and do good deeds any blame concerning what they've eaten in the past. Okay, so this is about food. But then I want to إذا ما اتقوا وآمنوا وعملوا صالحات ثم تقوا وآمنوا ثم تقوا وأحسنوا والله يحب المحسنين. So this is like steps teaching us about how what is in the past is before you came to Allah. So whatever you did then, it's of no consequence. Then you come to Allah and you do righteous deeds. This is Islam. You pray, you fast, you Bismillah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Then you go to the next step. ثم تقوا وآمنوا. It's so interesting because just a minute we said وآمنوا وعملوا صالحات ثم تقوا وآمنوا. This means that our belief becomes much deeper, becomes much realer, and it becomes something that is absolute for us. And that is the level of iman, the level of being of the mu'mineen. This level of iman. And that is, then we keep working. ثُمَّ تَقَوْا وَأَحْسَنُوا. Then we do even better and we work towards ihsan. Because Allah يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Allah loves those who are people who work in excellence. And so here we have a beautiful summary of how we're supposed to live. How we're supposed to live. And that taqwa will bring us there. More taqwa brings us closer. And Ramadan is a month of taqwa. Fasting is a month of taqwa. So inshallah, we are growing in taqwa and therefore growing from Muslims to mu'mins to muhsins. I'm saying them English plural. But yeah, inshallah. Now this surah ends, Surah Al-Ma'idah ends with a warning to a people who asked for a special miracle from Allah and then gave the lie, really, to their own prophet. And this is the story of Isa ibn Maryam and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ أَأَنْتَ قُلْتَ لِلنَّاسِ. Did you say to people, أَتَّخِذُونِي وَأُمِّي إِلَهَيْنِ, that I would to take you and your mother? Did you say to people, take me and my mother as gods without Allah? And Jesus answers, again, Jesus is innocent of the human being's mistakes. Each of us is responsible to pay attention. قال سبحانك ما يكون لي أن أقول ما ليس لي بحق. Glory be to you. I would never say what is not true. إن كنت قلته فقد علمت. And had I said it, you would know. تعلم ما في نفسي ولا أعلم ما في نفسك. You know what is within me and I know not what is within you. إنك أنت علام الغيوب. You know all that is in the unseen. So there's a real lesson to be learned here about putting words into people's mouths, putting words into leaders' mouths, or blaming our leaders, blaming people for what they did or did not do, and our own personal responsibility in believing in God. Ay wallah, I do too, ya Amina. Now we go right into Surah Al-An'am because we are at the end of our talk today. And I just want to tell you that this surah, when it was revealed in one piece, not in sections. And with it came 70,000 angels. And so there's recommendation by the ulama to read Surah Al-Baqarah in your home, to rid it of shaitan, and to read An'am to bring forth the angels. And we're continuing here in the same theme, really. That is, وَهُوَ اللَّهُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَفِي الْأَرْضِ يَعْلَمُ سِرَّكُمْ وَجَهْرَكُمْ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَكْسِبُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows is the creator of the heavens. Allah is in the heavens and the earth. يَعْلَمُ سِرَّكُمْ. He knows your secrets and knows what you make public, and knows that which وَمَا تَكْسِبُونَ, knows what you earn from your deeds. So this Ramadan, subhanAllah, it is said that fasting is for Allah, because nobody really knows if we're really fasting, but Allah knows. Allah knows your fast. Allah knows how hard it is for you or how easy it is for you. Allah knows the good work you're trying to do while you fast, and how you're working to come closer to Him and to obey Him and to be loyal, subhanAllah, to the greatness of God. And if we jump ahead a little bit and we go to 32, there's a true differentiation here and true clarity. Again, I said this section to me is all about clarity. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَعِبٌ وَلَهُ وَلَلدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. That's verse 32. And it means, and this worldly life is not but amusement and diversion, but the home of the hereafter is best for those who have taqwa. So will you not think? One of the problems of today is that we don't have a clear understanding of the truth of the unseen world. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here and in many places in the Quran is reminding us that, listen, all this stuff you're taking so seriously in this life, like we take things so seriously. This is nothing but la'ab, play, amusement, and lahu, just diversion, just distraction. That's what it is. وَلَلْدَارُ الْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ. But the next home, the dar al-akhirah, the next home, is better, khair, for those who have taqwa. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. So won't you think? So if we were to think about that, if we knew this really clearly, we would work so much harder for the next life than we work for this life. But truly we do the opposite. We work and we work and we work and we work for this life. Just acquiring dunya, which is nothing but goofing around. And we're not working for the next life. And this is a real sort of line in the sand clarity about that we have to have clarity and understand. And if we don't understand, that lack of understanding comes from lack of taqwa. And so we need to work on our taqwa so we can have more clarity in knowing the truth of this world and the truth of the next world. And there's another, verse 46, point of great clarity in this surah. 46. And it is, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ سَمْعَكُمْ وَأَبْصَارَكُمْ وَخَتَمَ عَلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ مَنْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِهِ. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took our hearing, this is spiritual hearing and spiritual sight, by the way. And you know this because وَخَتَمَ عَلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ, and closed on your hearts. Closed on your hearts. then what God, min ilahun ghayrullah ya'tikum, what God, what leader, what person, who is going to return these to you? In the days of the early 20th century, when science was considered almost a god, people believed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people believed that truth, capital T, was found in science and that God was no longer necessary, astaghfirullah. And you still find people like that here, but look at us today with this pandemic, brought to our knees by a tiny, tiny virus. A virus isn't even a DNA, it's an RNA. Just this tiny virus. Allah is the one who we need for all things. And especially if we have a closed heart. If your heart is closed from Allah, the only one who can open your heart to Allah is Allah. And so we have to turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to turn back and put our hands up and call on Him. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for clarity to see and hear and feel again. Ya Allah, let us as an ummah be an ummah that can see and hear and feel again. And if I then, one of the verses here again, which is drawing this line of clarity, is verse 93, which is a verse about the worst of sins, the worst of oppression. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا أَوْ قَالَ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ وَلَمْ يُوحَى إِلَيْهِ شَيْءٌ. What is worse oppression than the one who tells a lie about God? That's what this verse is saying. And subhanAllah, it's funny that not funny, but it's interesting to me, I think, this term, Azlam, injustice. An'am, Surah An'am Ramisa. This injustice, who is more, and the reason for that injustice is that this life, I mean, think about how angry you are about injustice in this world. Think about how angry you could be. You can be if you let yourself think about the injustice in this world. Yeah, if we let ourselves think about it, we'll have no feelings but anger. But the one who lies about God is the one who is putting at risk a person's next life as well. And so relating that to what we just said about the importance of knowing that this world is nothing but games and amusement, and the next world is the real one, this is the worst of oppression. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا أَوْ قَالَ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ وَلَمْ يُوحَى إِلَيْهِ شَيْءٌ. Or somebody who says, "Oh, I'm a prophet. It's been revealed to me," and nothing has been revealed to them. And so, I think this is a very important verse because to sort of underline the clarity that I've been feeling in this section today, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is really making very clear what this world is for and what the next life is for and the beauty of it. And so we know that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who we need to guide us back, and we know that that we know the truth of His creation. We know the truth of the beauty of this religion. There's some examples in this surah about Ibrahim and his father and such as well, which underlines again this importance of knowing the truth and walking with great clarity towards Allah. So Dunya Ramadan, congratulations on your fast today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. As you make dua, remember to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you clarity of sight and hearing and heart, and to forgive us all for the mistakes that we make, and to make us of those with whom He's pleased and who the Prophet will be proud of on the Day of Judgment. You can learn more about the work of Rabata at rabata.org. And I'm calling on everyone as well. Please become a monthly donor at rabata.kindful.org. We are looking to double our monthly donors, and sustainability. Even a small amount is sustainable. $10 a month, $15 a month is helpful to us, or $25 a month, $50 a month. We're so grateful to you. Rabata.kindful.org. Please go there before you get up off of your computer and give us a donation today. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and see you tomorrow.